Greetings. Welcome everyone. Today is numerically one of those cool days. It's 2626. I just think that's kind of cool. Hi Marks, how's it going? Welcome guys. Welcome to Friday. I know I was gone last week, and I have a lot to talk about tonight. Lots to talk to you about and tell you about and update you about and discuss. And yeah. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a fun night. I'm saying that confidently and also as a statement of I intend to make it happen. Tonight is a Ask Me Anything night. Ask me anything about Retail Sunshine. Why? Why am I making this that night? Well, because yesterday was Retail Sunshine's 18th birthday. I don't know if 18 is a super significant number, but I kind of feel like it is, at least in the United States. 18's the year when parents joke that they can kick their kid out of the house. That is not what I'm doing with Retail Sunshine, but they are now of age, whatever that means. I don't know what of age means for a comic strip, but there you go. There you have it. Thank you, Marks. Thanks for the happy birthday wishes. Hello to @Zerom. Am I saying your name right on YouTube? Hello. Welcome. Thanks for the heart on Facebook from Rachel Meinke. Thank you so much. So tonight, the entire... Oh, hopefully they're joking, says Rachel. Yeah, hopefully they're joking. I don't know. Maybe they just want to turn their kid's old bedroom into a rec room. It's entirely possible. I don't know. I can't speak from experience at all. But anyway, so yesterday, the February 5th. That was Retail Sunshine's birthday. So it's perfect that we're doing a live stream here tonight because we can kind of talk about that. That's the whole point of what I'm doing tonight. I'm not going to be drawing during my live draw tonight, if you can believe it. I'm going to dedicate the entire live stream tonight to talking about Retail Sunshine. This is like a celebration of the last 18 years. I'm going to be probably sitting here like an old man and recounting all the fun times. You guys can be part of the conversation as well. If there's anything you want to jump in with, I will answer any questions that are related to the guys behind me, guys and gals behind me. You can kind of see. Let me move my camera just a little bit here, But those characters on the wall behind me, those are my characters from Retail Sunshine. I'm currently animating a 7-minute cartoon short called New Ad Day. It's going to be 7 minutes when it's done, or roughly about 7 minutes. And so I'm going to talk to you about that tonight, and then I'll do some flashback stuff. It'll be really good. Let's see. What do we have? Okay. AVVU8I in YouTube there. And let's see. Hello to JPED123. Hello. Thanks for telling me you'll subscribe. I do appreciate the subscribes. Actually, I think it was in the last 2 weeks, I just crossed over 1,300 subscribers. So thank you guys for that. I know there are channels out there that have a lot bigger followings. I totally get it. For me, it's a big deal to hit 1,300. I sort of just do my own thing on this channel, and I know that's not necessarily the best method to get people to click and all that good stuff, but I got to do what works for me, and the only way this is sustainable is if it's like something that I'm enjoying doing. Just got to be honest with you. Do a backflip, says Amethyst King 777. Would if I could, Amethyst King. I would love to do a backflip. I think that would be a lot of fun. It is not something I'm physically capable of doing, but I appreciate the sentiment. Okay, before I get into all the flashback stuff, let me talk to you a little bit about what's been going on here in my art studio in the last couple weeks. Because this past week, I actually haven't really been animating at all. This past week, things kind of got a little bit away from me, and I'm going to tell you about that. Before that happened, I was working on scene 57, and I got to a really good pause, like a pausing point, not a permanent stopping point because I'm still working on the cartoon, but a pausing point. I got like maybe halfway through the scene, and that's where I wanted to get, because I knew I had some other stuff that was coming up, and I was like, it's a lot easier for me. I don't know if you other creatives out there, if you can relate to this, but it's a lot easier for me to sort of shift my focus somewhere else if I'm able to pause whatever else I was working on. Meaning, if I'm really stuck on a drawing and I'm really trying to get it to work, and it's not finished, or I just feel like I'm not resolved, it's harder for me to switch gears and to turn that off and go, I'll just get back to that later. It doesn't really sit well with me, and then I'm thinking about it day in and day out. So I try to avoid doing things like that if I can. So I finally got to I finally got to a place where things were pretty good. And right after that happened, or right as that was happening, I started having car issues. Yeah. And the car issues kind of snowballed a little bit. Oh, thank you very much. How do I say your name? The Ryan Gurley? Thank you. I'm glad you like my glasses. I also like my glasses. I am actually due for new glasses. I've been thinking about it recently, but I actually really like these glasses. So maybe I'll just ask them if they can keep the frames and just update the prescription. Anyway, I had got stopped on the side of the road. I had smoke or steam coming out of my front of my car. It was very scary. I had to get a brand new thermostat. I had to get a brand new radiator. It was really Tracy from daycare. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any children, so thank you for. Okay. I get a lot of interesting comments on here, and I try to engage with all of you. Some of you are trolls, and I know this, and you know, I try to make you feel welcome here as well. You know, you're all welcome here. Just, you know, try to be decent is all I ask. Thank you for the heart on Facebook from Shauna Lee. Thank you so much, Shauna Lee in Canada. Anyway, so my car needed new parts. This happened about a week ago, and then I brought it in to the usual place that I like to go, or I did like to go. I don't think I'll be going there anymore. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but let's just say the results that came back from their diagnosis did not sit well with me for a number of reasons, and we'll just leave it at that. So anyway, I brought it to another place and then got some things done there and got kind of a write-up done, and now I've got this like list of things that I need to fix on my car. Some of those things I then fixed on my own with the help of a really great friend of mine, a fellow artist. And then I found out about a kind of a recall, but not really a recall. It's like a warranty extension on a sensor for a brake light on my dash, making the brake sign flash. And so now I have an appointment next week with the dealership to have that fixed, but I may be without a car for like 3 or 4 days, just to replace a sensor. I don't really understand that either. They did say I could get a loaner car if I really wanted to, so maybe I'll do that. My point in telling you all this is this has all been happening in the last 7 days, so I have not been working on art very much. It's sort of like going to work, dealing with car stuff, come home, and sort of try to like clear my head. So anyway, I think things are starting to like get more normal, but I do still have a list of things that need to be repaired. So I'm going to start doing that maybe next month after that. I'm going to try to, you know, scoop some money together and see what I can do. But at least my car is safe to drive. That's kind of the key thing. That's how I'm able to go to work. The other thing that happened in the last week is I had this commission. I've been hired to illustrate a book cover for a client that lives in town, And I decided, well, since I've taken a slight pause on the animation, this would probably be a good time for me to do that book cover so I could get it done and off of my plate. So I did start working on that and made some good progress. I'm going to try to finish as best I can. I would like to, like, maybe within the next 4 days. It's kind of pushing it, but I'm going to try to push myself to see if I can do it. And if I can get the book cover done, then I will be like free and clear to go back to my own project, which would be great. And that will take me back to scene 57. I've got like another half of that to go. What's interesting about that is once I finish that scene, I'll be done with storyboard page 22, which for those of you who have lost track at home means I will have only 2 more pages of storyboards left on my wall from the original 24 pages. Left to animate. There's not a whole lot left to go. I'm kind of in the home stretch, which is very exciting. So that's going to happen. The Ryan Gurley says, forgot to tell you, call me Arrow. Okay. All right, Arrow. I'll call you Arrow. I'll try to remember that. Over on Facebook, I've got Marley Ionish giving me a thumbs up on the video. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. So Marley, also an artist, a really good artist. Just putting that out there. I like when the other artists I know jump in here and show me some love. It's always really appreciated. So that's all the news of the last. Oh, and I went to go see Martin Short and Steve Martin live. It was great. It was a wonderful thing to do. So I sort of took a little bit of like this last week sort of divulged in a different direction. But I think I'm coming back. I'm bringing it back in. I'm very excited. I will show you guys the book cover once it's all done. I'm not going to show it to you yet, but I am going to show it to you once it's done. I'm excited. I haven't done a commission in a long time. I don't really do commissions anymore. I'm only doing this because it's for it's for a friend. We'll say that somebody I consider a friend. And so I kind of made an exception, but typically I don't really do commissions, not right now anyway. Okay, so the whole point of what I was trying to get to earlier is it's 18 years. It's been 18 years since I started Retail Sunshine, and so I want to talk a little bit about that, and if you guys want to jump in with questions, I would be more than happy to answer whatever I can. So the story of Retail Sunshine begins in 2008 when I was ending another comic strip series, my first long-running series called Livestock. Livestock was a series I started in high school that was published in my high school paper, and then in the city paper, the city that I grew up in, and then the college paper when I moved across the state and went to a college across the state. So it was printed in a number of places, and in 2007 I compiled all the comics that I had done over the years, and came out with my first self-published book. And so when that was done, I had kind of a decision to make of, do I want to keep taking these characters forward and doing more with them? And I kind of didn't really want to do that at the time. Alex on YouTube is saying, is milk just cow juice? Yes, milk is just cow juice. Arrow, thank you for liking and subbing. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, and thank you over to, nope, nothing else on this. Sorry, I'm getting notifications and it's throwing me off. Okay. So book comes out about all these farm animals in 2007, around like Halloween. I think it was Halloween was the release date. And I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I was working in retail for a while, and I kept thinking, man, there's a lot of comedy potential here. I really want to write situations based around my everyday job. I think that would be really fun. I could be a little bit mean-spirited. I could kind of poke fun at horrible people. It would be very cathartic for me to complain basically through my comics. And I felt like the problem I was having with livestock at the time was I wasn't pulling from a lot of inspiration in my daily life. And that's okay. You can, if you're an artist or, if you're a writer or whatever, and you are creating stories, you don't have to pull from your daily life. You don't have to. You can just sit there and make stuff up. But I personally feel like things are a little bit better when they're more personal. I don't mean verbatim, right? I'm not saying like you take an incident verbatim and you just put it on paper the way it exactly happened. I don't mean that. What I mean is things that happened can inspire you to do something with them. And I think that's it's just better. I think when you have a personal connection to your work as an artist, there's something more authentic about it. Oh, Arrow got the best Valentine's present ever. Of course I want to know what it is, Arrow. Let me know. I'd love to know. And who gave it to you? Who gave you the best Valentine's Day present ever? I would love to know that. So anyway, livestock had gotten really, really complicated. The comics were becoming like way too much information for one page. Now I could have adjusted how I did it. I could have, turned it into a narrative, like a comic book, and made it where I didn't feel like I needed to cram everything on one page. Basically, I was going through growing pains with the comic strip, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And looking back on it now, yeah, there were things I could have adjusted. It's easier to look back and figure that out now, but at the time, I was sort of like stuck in this mindset of it's got to be a comic strip. That's what I told myself it was going to be. So if it's a comic strip, then it has to resolve on one page. That was how I made it. But unfortunately, sometimes that got me into trouble when I had like 16 panels and had to fit all the panels onto one page. But I would draw the original drawings like physically this big. Excuse me. And then I would shrink them down. It got really frustrating because I felt like I was doing all this work and it was getting minimalized and shrunk because it was. And by doing that, I was worried that I just felt like I wasn't making proper use of the drawings I was making. I was putting all this time and energy into a drawing that ended up being like no bigger than a postage stamp. So, which in some cases was kind of cool because when you shrink a lot of detail down, it does look very intense. So, yeah, but it was too much, and it was not becoming what I feel like a comic strip should be, which is something that's a little bit more on the minimalistic side, so you can get your ideas out quickly and move on to the next one, and you can kind of become like a joke factory. That's what a comic strip, in my opinion, a comic strip is a joke factory. And if you start getting stuck on the production so much that it's taking you like a month to make one comic, that's not a great way to have a strip. It just isn't. Now, comic strips aren't really, web comics are what people call them now. I don't really know how many people out there still look at newspaper comic strips. I'm not saying that they're gone, but I am saying it's not what it once was. So I don't know that people have that kind of expectation on the art form anymore. It's sort of, once things went to the internet, it kind of expanded and changed. But anyway, all this to say that I wanted to do something that I didn't feel like I was being so precious about the artwork with. I wanted to make something that was going to be quick, that I could get jokes out quickly, and that I could process my frustrations from my daily job. And so that's the inspiration point for Retail Sunshine. Oh, your mom got you a guinea pig for Valentine's Day? That is super nice. Years ago, it might have been a hamster. I can't remember if it was a hamster or a guinea pig. It might have been a guinea pig. But I when I was in middle school, I got a friend of mine I think it was a guinea pig. I got her a guinea pig for her birthday. And the way I chose it was I picked one that was kind of like fat and fluffy, right? Because I thought it was cute. I thought it was a cute little animal. And turns out I had, unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to my mom and unbeknownst to the shop where we got the little animal, it was a pregnant guinea pig. So it was the gift that kept on giving, because no sooner did I give her this little animal, did it have a bunch of babies. So that was a lot of fun. Not for me, or not for her. It was a lot of fun for me to hear about it, but not for her to deal with it. Anyway, I hope your guinea pig is happy and healthy. And if you want it to have babies, then I hope it does. Well, I hope you, yeah, go have fun petting your guinea pig. All right. I appreciate you letting me know. So that was the start of, in 2008, that was the start of the comic strip. And I can honestly say, I don't remember everything I was thinking at the time, but I do remember certain things. I don't think I was thinking someday I'm going to animate this on paper and do a 7-minute short. I don't think I was thinking that. I don't think I was thinking that the visual style was going to change as much as it did, because the original point of how I was styling the comic, the whole like idea behind it was, what if I made this really scribbly comic that looked like a child made it, but the humor was kind of, you know, a little bit cheeky, a little bit, I don't know. It was like if you heard a kid use a swear word, kind of like that. I wasn't swearing in it, but I mean, kind of like you put those two things together and you think, oh, what's going on here? So the idea was something innocent looking matched with something that was like really biting commentary about how horrible people can be in a retail environment. That was what inspired Retail Sunshine. And oh, your guinea pig's name is Oreo. I love it. It's a great name. It's a great cookie. So after a couple years of working on Retail Sunshine, I thought of this interesting, for me it was interesting. I thought, like, I want to do something about Black Friday, because Black Friday used to be a really big event. It's not really a big event anymore. Yes, you will still see companies talking about Black Friday, but it's not like a giant mega event the way that it used to be. People used to line up around the store, and I lived in the Midwest back when I was working in retail. So it got really, really cold around late November. And people would just stand out there with their kids or their spouse or whatever, and they would wait for hours for us to open so they could get a TV on sale. TJ Washer, how do I say your name? TJ Washier, LOL. How was your day after you're done? My day was, it was just a regular work day. It was all right. It's okay. I've been looking forward to this. This has been like, this is the highlight of my day. I wanted to come here and talk to you guys about Retail Sunshine in honor of the 18th birthday. This has been on my mind, so I'm having a better day now. Let's put it that way. Oh, was here is how I say your last name? Was here? Oh, TJ was here. Oh, okay. Got it. I got it. I don't know why I was trying to combine your name together. Oh, and thank you to Nicole Bell over on Facebook for the heart on this video. I can't see the thumbs up. If you're giving me a thumbs up on YouTube, I can't see it right now, but I do see it later when I go back to look at all the reporting. So thank you for any thumbs ups on YouTube that you give me. Appreciate it. So I wanted to do a special. I wanted to do a special comic strip about Black Friday, and I kept thinking, well, how do I want to do this? I would think back to like grade school when I was, really getting into reading Sunday comics like Garfield or Mother Goose and Grimm, or which is now called Grimmy, if you know Grimmy, or The Far Side or whatever. But I was thinking about those comics that would have, actually Far Side didn't really do this, but Garfield would do it and Grimmy would do it, where they would have like a theme for a handful of strips in a row. Like you would have, like Grimmy would get caught by the dog catcher and be in the kennel. And so then for the next like 7 strips, the premise was, here he is stuck in a kennel you know, how is he going to interact with the other dogs that are in there? Is he going to get out? It was that kind of a thing, and that's the stuff that I actually really liked more and more. The more I got into comics, I was like, ooh, I like when there's a little bit of a continuity, because I sort of feel like the problem with random jokey comic strips, the only problem with that is, like, they're funny, but because you don't necessarily get invested in the characters and what is happening to them, I think to some degree it's a little bit forgettable. So those kinds of comic strips can be a little bit like chewing gum, where you don't really think about it a lot later. So I really wanted to do something with Retail Sunshine and Black Friday, and I was thinking, what if I did a Black Friday series of comic strips where I do a bunch of them, but they're all taking place during Black Friday. And so that is where it was going to go. And then I changed my mind, and I was like, well, what if I do something bigger than that? What if I change the formula for like a special? And so that is when I made 'Twas the Day After Turkey, which is a poem that I illustrated with the Retail Sunshine characters, but the poem was based on 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Not to be confused with 'Twas the Nightmare Before Christmas, which I am currently wearing a shirt of, but I digress. So that actually ended up being my first Retail Sunshine book. I didn't have enough comic strips yet to put out a book of strips, so that was the first book that I put out back in 2010. Look at me remembering all those things. Oh, Rachel Meinke on Facebook said, favorite. Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate that. TJ says, how much sleep does the average 10-year-old need? I'm not one of those, but I'm 10. Well, how do I answer that? I think the right answer is 8 or 9 hours. But I'm going to tell you something. I have a sneaking suspicion that the amount of sleep and the time of day when a person sleeps, I do think it varies from person to person. I noticed when I was a kid that my internal clock seemed to be a little bit different from my family. I seemed to like come alive as like nighttime set in. So I've always been kind of a night owl. Yes, I can go to sleep if I really, really want to. I guess I could go to sleep, you know, before midnight, but I don't really do that anymore. It doesn't happen very much for me because I'm usually active. And that's when I'm, you know, I'm getting like bursts of inspiration, probably because the world is quieting down and I have a chance to think, is what I'm guessing is what it is. So a lot of times I'll be up late either making art, which is the better way to stay up late, or I'll be like watching some TV, or I will be playing a video game, which I don't game as much as I used to. Lately I have been, but gaming hasn't been a part of my life all that much up until recently. I kind of took a break. Night Before Christmas, or The Nightmare Before Christmas, is a great movie. Yes, TJ, I agree, it is. Arrow has a fact about guinea pigs. Nicholas says, dude, what are you doing talking to 10-year-olds? Well, I don't know. I can't control who comes into my live stream. So if you're 10 and you're in here, I can't stop you from being in here. I don't really know how to answer your question. I talk to anybody that comes in here. I'm not setting an age limit to who wants to talk to me. Let's see. What is Creek Craft then? I don't know what Creek Craft is. What are you asking me about? Or what is that you're asking me? I don't understand the question. I guess rephrase the question, please. Anyway, I'm glad you love art, TJ. That's a good thing. You're in the right place. So that was 2010. That was the first book. I kept making comics with the Retail Sunshine characters in the years that followed. I also got the comic strip into the corporate magazine of the retail store that I worked in, which I can tell you was Best Buy. And I had a really great supportive store. I had really great managers and really great coworkers. They were all very supportive. to this day, I'm very grateful for that experience. I know it doesn't always go that way. A lot of times you go to a soul-crushing job and you just can't handle or can't stand the other people. And so I know I was pretty fortunate in that situation. Not to say that there weren't some people that I didn't get along with, but I would say by and large it went very well. That store was so supportive to me that they even hired me to paint my characters on the wall. There are a couple different walls in the store. I even like created a sign, like one of my characters, like a standee sign that was by the front of the store. So it was really cool. It sort of felt like my comic was kind of alive in that moment, because here it was, I was going to work and doing a job, but I was surrounded by my characters painted on the walls and standing up at the front of the store and then in the employee magazine. It was just a really, really cool time. And then I would say, let's see, that was, so from 2010, a couple years after that, I had enough comics that I was ready to put out a book of comics. And that's when I brought out Silver Lining, which was like the first collected works. I was making these little tiny collected works, like flip book things, that only had like a few. And that was my way of starting to kind of work with the formula. But Silver Lining was the first like book that collected a bunch of the comics together. And right around that time, or right after that time, because that was 2012. So 2013, and it was like less than a year later, I moved to Texas. And shortly after I got here, I believe it was, actually, I should say this, I gotta rewind. Before I moved, I started working on another illustrated poem book called Orientation, which you see the book cover right there. But I started it in Ohio, and then I stopped. And I didn't know if I was ever going to finish it. I moved to Texas, and shortly after I moved, I stopped making Retail Sunshine. And I thought I wasn't going to make it anymore. I actually thought I was done with the series. I want to say it was like 2013 when I made that decision. And 2014, I returned to those characters, and the story that brought me back to the characters was Orientation. So I restarted the book, started making the artwork all over again from scratch, and in 2016, Orientation was released. So that was book number 3. Let's see. Creekcraft is a kid's YouTuber. Oh, I don't know Creekcraft, sorry. Mark says, well, I'm home now, or time to listen to Phil and work on a moped. A moped? When did you get a moped? That's exciting. Tell me more. Rachel on Facebook said mural. Yes, mural. Yes. TJ says, I'm asking the guy who said, oh, okay, gotcha. I'm glad you're listening. Thank you. You guys are very nice. I always appreciate the people that come in here on a Friday night. You guys could be doing anything, and you just come in here to let me ramble. I really appreciate it. Arrow says the prey animals, and you have to get down at their eye level, and they will die of stress and scaredness. Oh, wow. Well, that makes guinea pigs very fragile sounding. Is what it sounds like. You gotta be careful, I guess. Okay, so let's go forward. So that was 2016 was Orientation. So every now and then since Orientation, I would keep making some comics, and then in 2020, let's see what was going on there. I hadn't done any filmmaking for a while, and I hadn't done any animation for years. And you have to understand, I went to college for animation. So I didn't keep animating after I graduated, and the reason I didn't was because I didn't have access to all the resources that I had at college. There was a lot more equipment, and so I also felt like I love animation, but at the time I was sort of intimidated by the idea of continuing to do it because it's so time consuming, and I was really more interested in like telling stories more quickly instead of spending like a long time on one story. That's basically what animation is. So I hadn't animated for years. So in 2020, and something I had been thinking about in the back of my mind for a long time was it'd be really cool if I animated Retail Sunshine, if I animated those characters. It'd be really cool if there was like a little animated series. So I was thinking, well, if I was going to do an animated series, maybe I could start small and animate something that was like a short intro that would play at the very beginning of every episode. So I animated this like 49-second like animation test. And it was like the first time I really did anything with animation in years. And so as I was doing it, I was like, wow, this is like a really cool moment in time that I'm doing this, because I got to, well, A, because I was animating again. That was the big part. B, because I was working with a couple musicians that I had looked up to my whole life, basically. And I was fortunate enough to work with them to make the music, the theme song, because I animated to the music. So it was just a really cool project. And I was like, this would be a really good time to maybe like tell the story that I was telling you guys in like a mini documentary style. So I made this 10-minute short film called Sparking Sunshine. It's free on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube on my channel. And that little 10-minute film tells the story that I was basically telling you guys. At the end of it, there's a little bit of animation. And the idea was, if this very, very short animation test works, the plan was I would go and push myself and make like a full episode. That was what I kind of promised myself. I didn't know how involved the full episode would be, because the 49-second short is a lot different from what I'm doing right now. In between the short, or the real short, and the short I'm doing now, in between that, there was a little bit of an interruption. I was hired to animate a commercial for somebody here in Texas. And at that point in time, I hadn't animated any dialogue, like ever. I never messed with animating dialogue. Everything I had ever animated was either silent or to music. So originally, animating the short I'm doing right now, that was going to be my first time ever doing dialogue. That was the plan. But this opportunity came along for me to do this commercial, and that had dialogue in it. So that actually ended up being the first time I did dialogue, and I think it came at just the right time, because it enabled me to sort of get my sea legs. I had just finished doing the little 49-second short. Here I was doing something else with characters that were brand new, and I was making them talk. So I was pushing myself in ways I hadn't before. But by doing that project, it really did prepare me for what I'm doing right now. And so I think it's really great I'm telling you guys this to say, it's great to have plans, and I think it's up to us to follow through on our plans as best as we can. But it's also a good idea to keep yourself open, keep an open mind. And sometimes opportunities come along that require you to put your own plans on pause for just a little bit. It doesn't mean you have to do those things, but I do think if you keep yourself open to those opportunities, sometimes it can actually benefit you. Because now I feel like the work I'm doing on my Retail Sunshine cartoon, I feel like it's better because of that commercial. So you never know, right? These things can happen. TJ is asking if I'm streaming on Facebook too. Yes, I am streaming on Facebook. You can find me. Actually, just go to search Retail Sunshine on Facebook, and you'll find me right there. Am I on TikTok? I have a TikTok account, but I don't really use it. I created it a couple years ago when I was doing a Kickstarter, because I wanted another way to reach people. And I used it for like a tiny amount, and then I never used it again. And now the only reason why I have the account is because friends of mine will send me TikTok videos, and in order for me to see them, I have to have an account. That's the only reason why I keep my account. I have been considering doing more on social media and doing more on TikTok, but I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of don't have the energy for it right now. It's like, I feel like it's just too much social media. Maybe someday I'll do more on TikTok, but it's just something I haven't really pushed myself to do yet. So we'll see. Oh, okay, Arrow, you have a good rest of your night. You don't have to apologize. It's okay. I appreciate you being here. It was lovely meeting you, and I hope you and Oreo have a great rest of your coming up weekend here. So thanks for being here. All right, we're almost at present day, and let's see. So that was 2020, and then in 2023. I finally started work on New Ad Day. And by work, I mean actual animation. I had been working on New Ad Day in the background from like Christmas of 2020 to May of 2023. Like every now and then I would work on the script, or I would hire some voice artists and then record their voices. Like there was a bunch of pre-production stuff happening in the background. But in May of 2023, I started animating New Ad Day. Now, that was just 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago. And right around that time, I was getting ready to celebrate Retail Sunshine's 15th anniversary. So I sort of didn't plan too far ahead. I was like, oh, crud, Retail Sunshine's 15. I got to do something. And for years, I had been thinking about taking the books I had made already and doing like a mega book, like combining the illustrated poem, like Orientation and Was the Day After Turkey, and taking all the comic strips and some other stuff, like production art and things, behind the scenes things, and smushing it all together to make one giant book. So I paused working on my current animation for about like 9 or 10 months. I paused working on it so I could put together a book called Everything Must Go. And that is book number 4. I don't know if and when I'll do another official book of comics from Retail Sunshine. I know I'm going to do a book based on the production art for New Ad Day. I know I'm going to do that. But I paused animating. I didn't really want to, but I was like, well, I got to do this now. This is in like, I could tell because I just started animating. I was like, I've got a feeling that when I'm done with this cartoon, my style for this series is going to be different. I had a feeling it would be because animation has the potential to, well, the way I was approaching it had the potential to change the way I was doing it. And I had a very specific way of making the comics. I was very rigid about it, very dedicated to how I was doing it. And over the process of making New Ad Day, I started to go, what if I didn't do it that way? What if I changed things? What if I rethink some of the character designs? What if I, what if I don't ink things the way that I used to? What if I don't color things the way that I used to? What if I, whatever. So I had a feeling that was going to happen, and it did. And so because that happened, I said, let me put out a comic book that has all of the stuff I did up until now, like everything that has led to this moment in one book. And because I don't know what's going to happen after this, right? I still don't. I have a better idea now, but I didn't at the time. So that's why I made Everything Must Go. That book is the biggest book of comics I've ever made. I love that book. It's very special to me. And it is available online from bookpeople.com. So that was like a little bit of a hiatus. But ever since that wrapped up, and that was like March of 2024. So since March of 2024, I have been pretty steadily only working on animation. And I am so happy to have returned to animation. Yes, it's taking me years to make one story, the exact thing that I said I didn't want to do when I got out of college, and now I'm doing that. But I love it. There's something about it that speaks to me in a way that making comics didn't quite speak to me in the same way. I still love comics. I'm not saying anything negative about it. But something about animation is gelling with me in a way that is like very, very palpable. And so that's why I don't know what I'm going to do going forward. I don't know that I'm going to make more comics. I kind of want to keep animating. That's sort of where my head is at. And here we are now, February of 2026, and I've got like 2.5 pages worth of storyboarding left to turn into animation. Then I will have a bonus page of storyboards that I haven't even made yet that I'll add that in. And then it'll be time to do post-production, which I don't know how long that's going to take, but I'm not trying to rush, but I am also trying to have some level of momentum. That's why I don't like to do commissions right now, especially because it's like I'm so focused. But you know, this book is being made and they need a cover, and so okay. So I'm making an exception. So I'm going to try to get that done in the next few days, and my hope is by the time Friday of next week gets here for the next live draw, I hope to be working back on scene 57, and it'll be back to business as usual. But tonight, you know, tonight's been a little bit of a break. Hello to Liam. Hello, hello. TJ says, I just started YouTube and TikTok. I'm going to try not to talk too much. Talk as much as you want. That's why the chat is there. You guys, I would love it if you talked with each other. In fact, I'm trying to build more of a community over at retailsunshine.com where you can follow me there for free. Yes, that is my Patreon account, but I do have like a way to be free on there. And sometimes I post things there that I don't post anywhere else. And I usually try to post, if there's news, I try to post the news there first. So if you want to be in on that stuff, you know, first, then yeah. Will I stream tomorrow? No, I only do live streaming on Fridays. It's always the same time every Friday, 9 p.m. Central. Sometimes I do a random one at the beginning of the week, but I haven't done one of those in weeks, so I don't know when I'll do those again. But you can count on Friday at 9. That's like my usual window. And I usually go for about an hour. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, so retailsunshine.com is where you can follow me for free. You'll get some updates there, which is great. It sort of removes the problem of not seeing me in your Facebook feed or Instagram feed, because you get like notified directly if I post something. And actually, I do want to mention something for those of you that like to go to comic book conventions. There's one show that I have done just about every year since I've moved to Austin, and that show is called Staple Independent Media Expo. It's my favorite comic book convention ever, because it's like just the right amount of small, meaning like it's focused on comic books. It's not a giant media extravaganza with celebrities and vendors that have, you know, plushies and all. There's nothing wrong with those things. I'm not saying there's a problem with them, but I get a little frustrated when I go to a Comic-Con and there's very little comic book stuff there. So I love Staple for staying true to its roots. But it's also really it's a big show because there's like no other show that's like it that I've been to that is that size. So it's a small show and it's a big show. It's got small town appeal, but it's like big in its own way. Thank you to Johnny Ramirez over on Facebook for the like. I do appreciate that. TJ says, I'll come back to the stream after I get back from my dad's. I can't have my phone there. Totally cool. You can also check me out after the live streams are over with, and I will see all the comments whether you make them live or after the fact. So it's all good. But I do appreciate the update. You guys are so nice. There's a lot of polite people that come in here sometimes, and it really makes up for the people that come in here that are trolls. So I do appreciate those of you that are really polite. It's like a nice balance. So anyway, so the update. Here's the news. Okay, so I mentioned Staple, right? Staple happens in April, and this year, not only will I have a table at Staple where you can get books from me, and I'll sign them and all that stuff, and merch and all that stuff. I'm also going to be hosting, or I'm not hosting, I'm sorry. I will be a panelist on a panel about animation. I'm very, very excited about this. It's still in the early discussion period. We haven't narrowed in on all of the things we'll be talking about yet, but it's me and a few other individuals who are all from different parts of the animation industry. People that are who've worked on TV shows. I believe they've worked on TV shows. I'm pretty sure they have. Other people that are like animation professors, and it's a really great mix of people. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you guys, if you're able to come to Austin to go to Staple this April, I think it's 12th and 13th. I really recommend it. If you go to staple-austin.org, you'll get more information about the show. Violet Swain 17 says your brain burns about 20% of your calories, even when you're doing nothing. Yeah, I heard something about that recently. I would like to think that if I'm live streaming and my brain is very much being active, I would like to think I'm burning calories right now. I think. Yeah. Jim Bob says I'm lucky to be where I am and still fairly sound. Well, Jim Bob, I'm glad you're still fairly sound as well. Although we're all a little bit mad here, I like to think. Just a little bit, right? Yeah. Welcome back, TJ. Lots of new folks popping in on YouTube tonight. I do appreciate that. Thanks for being here, guys. It has been really fun. Hello to Billy Bob Joe. Hello. It has been really fun tonight to go back and look back and recount over the past 18 years since starting Retail Sunshine. It's always fun. I like thinking about all the stuff that led to this point in time. There have been other little moments that have been part of that timeline as well that I didn't get into, like the Dino Mighty wallet. That was like a really cool thing that happened. There's a lot of cool things that have happened along the way, and I'm very optimistic about the future, because let's be honest, like when I came here in 2013, I thought I was done with the series altogether. I thought I was going to be done with it, and something about these characters felt like I shouldn't abandon them. I hate to say it that way, because now I feel like I abandoned my first characters. I don't really love that idea, but I was like, something's not done yet. And it's interesting. I knew something wasn't resolved about the way that the series was. Something felt unresolved. That is why a big part of why I came back to it. And I don't want to get to a point where it feels resolved, to be honest. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't want to get to a point where it feels like I can abandon them again. I don't want that. I do want to get to a place where it feels like I've hit a plateau, not in a bad way, but a plateau. Like now I've honed in on, like, this is the style, this is the way it is, this is, these are the characters. I don't want it to continue to morph and morph and morph. I think morphing for a period of time is normal, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think eventually you want to land on something that feels concrete, that you can rely on. At least I want to. And once I hit that point, I think the plan would be, as best I can tell, looking into the future, the plan would be, let me now take these characters and let me tell you more stories. Let me tell the world and myself. Let me just tell more stories with these characters. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling my words. Let me tell more stories with these characters now that they are peak where I want them to be. That's where I want to be. That's my vision for the future, is let me get my characters to the best place they can be, and then let me tell more stories with them. Do I ever want to work on other things? Yeah, I guess in theory I do. There was a graphic novel that I started years ago, and then I abandoned that. It's a long story. Maybe I'll put that out someday. I don't know. Maybe, you know, I also started doing new stuff with my first comic strip, the Livestock. I started to work with them again, and then I got into a weird headspace and put that aside. So will I ever return to those projects? I don't know. Maybe. I don't, you know, I honestly don't feel like I have to. I used to feel like, oh no, I absolutely must do this. And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I have to. So we'll see. Let's see. What is the comments saying to me now? I have to go in 10, but I'm back next week. Well, thank you, TJ. I do appreciate that. Well, you guys got a lot of comments going on tonight. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Oh my gosh. Always is not there. Just told a really disturbing story. My favorite time was when someone took a crap in a shoe and put it back on the shelf. The next customer wasn't too happy. 10 out of 10 experience. Would visit Walmart again. Is that a real story? I can't tell you that I don't believe it. That does sound like a thing that happened. But that's horrible. I remember when I was still working retail, somebody had come out of the women's restroom and said, oh boy, I don't know what happened in there. We're going to have to get a major cleanup team. And we were all like, why? What happened? And they said someone took feces and smeared it all over the walls of the women's restroom. And we were just, our jaws were on the floor. Why would someone do this? How would they do this? It's crazy. I actually had a personal story that involved scary bodily fluids. And I'm not, this is not me trying to make fun of this person, because I think they genuinely were in trouble, or something was going on, right? So this woman came in. I think she might have been unhoused, is probably the proper term. She was acting very, very strange. She was talking to me about computers and things like that. Mid-conversation, she says, I don't really feel very well. Is it all right if I just sit down right there? Now, right there, the area she pointed to was the deck plate, which is just a piece of metal, the bottom of like shelving. If you have like peg hooks on a shelf with products on them, the piece that's on the bottom, it's not it's above the floor by about 2 inches. It's called a deck plate. Excuse me. She's like, I just got to sit down right there for a second. And I said, yeah, go sit down. I'm standing there just like kind of confused. So she goes and sits down, and she starts to like kind of like do one of these things where she sort of like gets like she's dizzy, right? And I went to go check on her, and she starts to talk, and before she could actually get a whole sentence out, you know what a red icy looks like? Like, do you know the consistency of an icy, right? Like that, it's crushed ice, but it's like, it's not like big blocks of ice. It's like little tiny fragments of ice, right? With liquid. It looked like that was coming out of her. Okay. She just started throwing up red. It was crazy. We called her an ambulance. That was probably, no, not probably, that was the wildest like bodily function situation in a retail environment that I had ever personally experienced. Because I didn't walk into the women's restroom to see the crap that was on the wall. I was in the store when it was found, and people were telling me about it. I didn't see it, right? But I saw this person unload in front of me, and I didn't know what to do. Like I froze. I mean, we got her help, don't worry. but it was just like a crazy thing because it wasn't like she was prepping for it. She was just starting to say another sentence, and then there it was. It was wild. It was wild. So anyway, yeah. Let's just say retail is an animal all its own. And I will also say another really gross thing. Not that I don't know how we got onto the gross topics, but it happens. I remember seeing parents pushing around their kid in like the front part of a shopping cart. I remember this one kid had, like, his parents gave him a bag of like cheese puffs, right? And he's eating these cheese puffs, and his fingers are like orange and sticky. And I remember looking over as he just starts touching the laptops with orange, sticky cheese puff fingers. And I was just like, come on, man. You know, I understand that it's hard to keep track of what your kid is doing. I get it. I don't have kids myself, but I am an uncle. I do understand to a degree. Anyway, let me just say, retail can be very gross. I'm going to end the night on that statement. Retail can be very gross, but it's been wonderful as a source for comedy for me. And I really do appreciate you guys being here tonight and chatting in the live chat and listening to me tell the story of how Retail Sunshine came to be and a little bit of the milestones that have happened over the past 18 years. I will be back to my usual LiveDraw shenanigans next Friday. That's my plan. That's my plan. Okay. And I really appreciate you guys being here. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It's really very much appreciated. And please feel free to share this video with a friend if you think they would hang out with you here and you think they'd like it. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Have a great one. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Have a great night.